Okay, morning. Good afternoon. So where we left off last time was idle animation, right? So what I did currently sa project is, well, I expanded the platform, so it looks like that now, like behind the scenes, right? So there's like water platforms, etc. Yeah, if you check, that's still part of the water there, platforms, and then the background. For our sprite sa night, still the same. Idle pa lang siya. We don't have any controls yet. Okay. So what we'll do today is we'll do walking, jumping animation, as well as the dynamic camera movement. Okay. Through Cine Machine. Okay, anyway, so we can just start siguro with walking, no? Or just moving our character. Let me... So, for the scripts, I already created 3 scripts here, pero bare bones scripts pa lang siya. So it would look like this. So we have player movement, animation, and states. So currently, sa animation, we don't really have anything here. It's just an awake for player states, and then getting the animation controller or the animator for the player object. For the move, let's go sa states first. So sa states, I was just preparing this for what do you call this? For jumping later on, no? So is on ground, and then we have actions here, player run, which we'll use running later on, and then another action here for jumping. Anyway, sige. Okay. So first, sige, maybe let's code sa movement. So sa movement, what we want to do here is just so sa movement, what we want is, well, i-move ta lang si player whenever there is horizontal input, right? So we can create a function here for horizontal movement. Just check. Wait lang. Okay, so we can have a void here, void move horizontal. Okay, in this one, we'll use the rigid body. So RB here, we'll use that to move. So and then we'll use the horizontal na axis, no, AD or left and right arrow. So let's check first, no, if we have a horizontal input. So we can do float H input. H input here is input that get axis horizontal. Okay. And then what we could do is just get the velocity or the rigid body. Now we'll just use the velocity aspect of our rigid body. No, so player RB here dot velocity, player RB dot velocity. So we'll use vector 2 instead here. So vector 2, so new vector 2. So vector 2 is just x and y. So sa x, we just want we want our horizontal input here, and then we'll just multiply it with our move speed here. So I set it to 5 for now. And then since we're not doing anything sa y, we'll just leave this at 0 for now. And then going back here, so A and D lang siya, no? So we're expecting if we push A and D or left and right, that our sprite here moves. Okay lang. Wait for it. Okay. We click on play here. We're expecting that our player moves. So A and D. Oops. I forgot to call this update because we're going to call it every frame. Okay. Right. Click on play. So there. So it can move now, left and right, pero syempre wala pa siya animations because we didn't do anything sa animations. So we'll do that next. Okay. So we'll animate the left and right na movement. So if we go back sa assets under the night files, so we'll do this the same way sa aton nga we call this idle animation, right? We'll just get the specific PNGs here that corresponds to the walking or running. So I think it's around here. Attack, strike, walk. There. So there's walk 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So again, we need to expand this because we're getting the sprite asset, not the PNG for the animation. Okay, so I'll expand every walking sprite here, or walking frame, and then I'll just select everything. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then right click, or was it create? Oops, I have to do that again. You could just click and hold control and select all the frames that you need. 8 animation there. And we'll name this night walk animation. Okay. We'll put this under animations. Tapos we'll open our animation controller. We'll separate this for now. It looks like this. Currently, we have night idle, so we'll just plug in our night walk here. And we need to have a transition, right, from idle to walk. Now, this should be familiar to everyone since we did this 3, right? But so unit 3. But just to refresh, right click on the source and then click on make transition, and then we'll click on the state we were going to transition to. So that's from night idle to night walk, and we also make a transition from walk to idle. Then sa transitions nga ni, we can have like parameters that will be used for the transition. Okay, so pwede siguro boolean, no? We'll set a boolean that if it is true, then we are walking, or the night is walking. If it is false, then the night is just idle, right? So we'll create a parameter here, boolean. I'll name this walk underscore b, like so. And then sa transitions, we'll click on the arrow, and then you scroll here. Okay, we scroll here sa conditions, right? You can have this. So walk B, if it is true, then it will transition to walk. And here, if we say walk B is false, it goes back to the idle transition. Another thing I do with animations, I'll just show it here. If I click on play here, currently it looks like this. So if I go A and D, well, wala pa siya, right? But if I click on walk B here, so if you notice there is a bit of delay when I click on press, and then it finishes the idle animation first, and then it goes to walk. Also, walking here doesn't loop, right? It stops there. So we could go to our night walk animation. Let's get out of play mode. The animation asset, and then just click on loop time. The other one, sa controller, sa transition, what I do usually, especially for 2D, para daw quick acting siya, there's no sort of transition. I click off, no, has exit time, para diretso siya. And then for sa additional settings, the transition duration is also 0. So it will cut off the idle animation and then proceed to walk animation after that. Same thing here, no exit time, no transition duration. Now this is, this is depende sa usage nyo, but for me, it's better this way. Okay? You can tune this if you want. So now, if I click on play, and then, so it starts idle. Whenever I click on walk, then go walk na siya diretso. And in walk is false, then, yeah, something like this. Okay? And then we'll get that or we'll code that in sa behavior. Okay. So sa states, I guess I'll have another one here, which is player idle action. Okay. So sa animation or sa player rather, okay. Here, if we are walking, in this case, a horizontal, we'll just invoke player dot states dot is, wait lang, player run. You can do this. Player run dot invoke like so. So okay. Tapos animations, we could have methods here. So void player walk anim. And then we'll just go player AC dot it was a boolean, right? Set bool. This correct. Wait lang. Yeah, set bool. What we have was, so going back, it was walk underscore B. So this one is walk underscore B. And then we'll set this to true. Okay. And then let's have another one here, player idle. So walk B here is false. Okay. Tapos we have to subscribe on enable void on enable. So on enable we subscribe sa actions. So player states what was it? Player run plus equals walk on him. Or maybe we could rename this to player walk para consistent lang. Player walk. We have set player idle. Player idle anim. Okay. Okay. Look good. Tapos on disable, paano? Minus. Wait lang. Player idle. There you go. Okay. Tapos sa movement, it should also be player walk. There you go. So yeah, let's test this. Okay. No, it's not. Wait lang. I did invoke player walk, invoke walk. attach. Wala pa siya player animations. It starts walking. Ah, that's because sa movement na-invoke niya even if there is no input. So we could do if h input is equal to 0 here, we'll do this. But if it is equal to 0, then no input lang. Oops. Okay. Should work. Oh. So else, we'll just say that it is idle. Player idle dot invoke. Oh, spelling? Yeah. Player idle. Okay, so idle siya, and then if we start walking, then it starts the walking animation. When we release, then balik mo siya to idle, like that. There's a problem though, where if we walk towards the left, it's still running towards the right. No? So what we could do here actually is to use local scale. So if you notice, if you do ang local scale to here as -1, it flips back, right? Pero kung 1 siya, then it's just the same moving to the right. So we could use the local scale, no, for the flipping. Okay, so we could have a flip sprite here na method, or you could just put it here, pero I'll just make it another method. So void flip sprite. Yeah. And then we could forward the h input. H input. Float niya siya. Sorry. Float. H input. And then we could just say h direction. Direction is equal to the sign. So mathf dot sign of h input here, and then whatever the h direction is, so float h direction here, we'll just put its x na scale of the transform. So transform that local scale was new vector 2. Vector 2 na siya. So in 2D, usually vector 2 ang ginagamit because x and y lang usually. We don't really have the x na scale. So here, we could do h direction sa x, and then sa y, we could do, well, we could do 1f, or just to retain the current scale, local scale dot y. So this should flip. We could flip it whenever we have h input. So we flip sprite, and then we have the velocity, and then we do invoke as well. Okay. And that should be transform. Okay. Right. Let's test. Currently, yeah, there. So if we press A, it goes to left side, and then kung D, then it goes to the right side. Like that. Wala pa kita jump, we'll implement jump after this. Okay. Sige. So jump, then similar lang man ang jump, right? If we press space and if we are on ground, we do the jump. Else, we could just, if we're in the air, then no jump. Okay? So sa player movement, we could go back sa player movement. Wait lang. Oh, wait lang. Here. So we could just do jumps. Where did I put? Okay. So sa jump, we could create another method here that handles the jump. Okay, so void jump or player jump. Okay. And then what we do is jump here. So if, or we're getting the button. So if get input dot get button down is correct. We're going to use the jump na button. I think it's already configured sa spacebar sa axis, right? Wait lang. Get input not get access. Yeah, should be correct. So first we have to check if the player is on the ground. So that's sa player states siya, right? So if player states dot player not player jump dot is on ground. If player is on ground, we can perform the jump. If the player is not on the ground, then dapat hindi pwede. Here we could just do player RB dot add add force, no? Similar thing sa unit 3 or sa unit 4 as well. Vector 2 dot up times we didn't create a jump force pa, no? So we could just serialize that here. Jump force. We'll initialize this at 10 maybe. Okay, so jump force tapos force mode, right? Force mode 2D dot impulse. So same thing with what we did sa unit 3, right? It's just the force and then pero may force mode kita. What we use here though is force mode 2D instead of force mode because this is 2D environment. Normally sa 3D, I think Y man siya, pero yeah, we should use force mode 2D instead because we are using a 2D environment. Add force, player jump, and then player jump, we just put here's update. Okay. Wait lang. Okay. Input manager just to be sure. So jump is space. That should Like a jump. Wait lang. Player jump is go here. Player states on ground. Maybe we. So this was not initialized to true, so that's why it's not jumping. Okay, there. May jump shot. I think that's too. That's a little too much. Maybe we could change it to around 5. Well, and then the falling. Maybe around 7. Bit of trial and error. Yeah, 7. 7's pretty good. So we'll put it at 7. Okay. But currently, we don't really have checks to make is on ground false, right? Because when we jump, wala naman siya gina-set that is on ground is false. So whenever we jump, then we can do double jumps, etc. Another thing here is if we jump like here and we press A and D, our character sort of floats in the air. That's because sa code na, no, we did something sa horizontal input. Okay. No, I'm not really sure. I think it's it's a platform. I think there's an invisible platform there. But regardless, we did some things movement in which here we did h input times move speed, pero ang y velocity we made it 0. So actually, to fix this, we our velocity here sa y should just retain the y velocity. Okay, another thing is sa states we need to make it so na it's on the ground before we jump. Okay, so currently pwede kita double, triple jump, but the issue with there is an invisible platform here. I'll fix that later. But yeah. Yeah. So currently it looks like that. Okay. We could actually restrain that rotation sa rigid body here. So we could freeze the rotation sa z-axis para hindi siya mag-roll over. And then let me look at platform tile map. The scene. Yeah, we have 2 invisible platforms here. We can just erase those. Ooh. Eraser. The platforms, right? Then eraser. So may hole sa background tile map. There. So may invisible platforms earlier. That should be fixed now. Yeah. So wala na ta invisible platforms, and then whenever we are jumping, pwede siya mag left and right. But it doesn't have that glitch where it's not moving down or it's barely moving down when we do left and right in the air. Now, next thing we'll address is on ground. Now, if we jump, right, dapat we also set, so player states dot is on ground, so false here. Tapos, we'll turn it on once we collide back to the ground. So we could handle that collision sa another script na lang. Okay. So we'll create another script here, C# script, collision, player collision. Okay. So sa collisions, here. So collision, so similar sa animation or sa states, we just need states here. Okay, we'll remove this. We need this on awake. Right. Move this on awake. So awake. We'll get that. We don't need animator. So what we'll do here is when we collide with the ground, we'll get the is on ground to true again. So void on collision enter is so 2D na siya. Collider lang. Let me check first. Wait lang. Just looking for on collision enter. On collision enter 2D and other here should be collision 2D. Well, other. Okay. So we could do that if other dot compare tag is ground, then we could do player states dot is on ground equals true, like that. Okay. Else it is false. Sa movement, false siya, is on ground, and then sa collisions, when it collides with the ground, it should be true. Now we don't really have ground yet, so we'll tag this one. So we'll create a tag here, ground. Save this. We'll create another tag for danger, just for later on. Okay, so for the platforms, we'll tag this as the ground. Whenever we collide with a platform, we get our ability to jump again. Naka-danger siya. Okay. Which one? Right. True. Collisions, right? One? Right. Yeah, that is true. Or we could just do other dot tag equals ground. We could do this too, yes. Ano ka lang. This one should be ground. And then going back to Unity, that should be tagged as ground. So now we could jump. We can't jump while we're in the air. Oh, wait lang. Is it? This is not yet in the player, sorry. So we do player collisions as well. Okay. So there. Kung R na to sa ground, we can jump again. However, my issue here with this implementation, because here currently we're in the air, we didn't collide with the ground, and then we collide with the ground, we can jump again, right? However, if we bump here, we're colliding with the ground, right? So we could try to jump again. So if you See, there. Maka-jump siya again. Now it's collided with the ground. Pero yeah, it's kind of buggy if you implement it that way. Na collision siya. There, it also doesn't slip. And if you press on space, it kind of jerked up, symboling na may collision, right? Or may force up like this. May force up siya. So pwede ka makadikit, like dikit ka di sa ground and then jump up again. In some games, that might be desirable, right? Pero this game, we don't really want that to happen. Okay, so what we can do here is to add sort of another detector that if the feet of our character touches the ground, then we can jump again. So we could go to our player here. We could create another collider. So let's do another box collider. Okay. Box collider 2D. This one will edit it. So we'll situate it somewhere close to this box collider. So if you have two box colliders, sa isa lang ka box collider ang edit, right? So if we click on edit, this one, we want this collider to be somewhere sa feet sa ato na player, like so. So player again. So this is the other collider. Now this collider, we won't mark it as a collider. It should be a trigger. Now if our trigger touches the ground, then we are in the ground or on the ground. But if this trigger does not touch the ground, it is not on the ground. This is also made like this, na smaller siya, right? This one, we'll make it a little more smaller. Smaller siya than the outside rectangle, so that when you are bumping into a wall, hindi niya ma-detect that you are touching the ground. We have to edit our code as well. Instead of on collision here, we'll actually use trigger because it's now a trigger, right? So we'll change this to on trigger enter 2D, and then collider 2D here. If it's the ground, then it's still the same thing. Okay. Now let's check. So we're on the ground, we can jump. If we're in the air, we can't jump. If we jump here, it still sticks, pero hindi na kita ka-jump. Again, here, I'm pressing up and it's not pressing, or it's not going up. Like so. So we've eliminated that problem, but we still have the problem that our character here sort of sticks sa collision niya with the platform. We can remove this with physics materials. So we could go to assets. I'll just create another folder here for physics materials. And then we could create a physics material here. So we go create and then material. Mesh Pro text, animation. There, physics material. So this one, or wait lang, it should be 2D. Delete this one, create, I think it's under 2D. There, physics material 2D. Now this one, let's say wall slip. Okay. And then we have properties here, friction and bounciness. Now for this one, we could just use the friction. Now we could reduce this to a very small number, not 0, because if it's 0, it will slide now when it's on the ground. So we could make this a very small number, 0.0005, something like that. And then we could attach this to anything that has a rigid body and has a collider. Now we can attach this player ta, or we can attach this walls. So for example, kung sa player ta, how you can attach this is you could either attach it sa rigid body here or sa colliders, like here. So this is our main collider. So if we click on the small circle here, we could attach the wall slip na collider. It's currently in play mode. So if we'll do that again here, the wall slip again is at 0.00005, right? So may slippage siya whenever we are touching the ground. Or, yeah. So, whenever we touch the wall like that, so may slippage na siya. It's not sticking to the wall anymore because there is friction. And, well, we have to collide with the ground again or trigger the ground for us to jump again. That. There. So, pero wala na siya stick, right? There. It's not sticking anymore. It's a bit of frictionless na behavior. But anyway, so I guess that's it for jumping. We could do another animation where if we jump, then there's a jump animation and it stops the walking animation. But that I'll leave that to you na lang, no? For now, we could just live with this. Na it's running still while jumping. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So currently our character is limited lang siya sa space nga eh, right? Because the camera doesn't move. So if I jump here, there, character's out of bounds. We don't know what's happening with it anymore. You can go back, pero yeah, not really good. So what we want to do next is sort of like a dynamic na camera, in which sa example that I've shown last time, not sure if it's still here. No. The example that I've shown last time was that the camera sort of follows the player, but it doesn't do it in a way na rigid. No, this is the player, and then I'll follow it all along every time. What happened there was if the player is not moving, the player is idle, right? It just zooms in sa player, and then when you start moving, it expands, and then it kind of follows the player around. So we could do that with code. I'm pretty sure we could do that with code, but we could do that with plugins that Unity have already given us. We'll use Cinemachine for this. Okay, so we could go to Window and then sa Package Manager. So Cinemachine is found built-in packages or sa Unity registry na packages. So we could search for Cinemachine here. It's refreshing packages. So there, Cinemachine. So this one, you have to install this project to project, right? If you install this this project, it may not be installed in another project. So project per project basis siya. So here I'll click on install, and it's gonna install, take a bit of time, and then it will refresh the whole project. But then after that time, we can use Cinemachine plugins na later. So we'll just wait a bit while this is installing. Maybe it would take like around 5 minutes. There. So there, it's already installed, and then it's gonna compile the scripts because our Cinemachine comes with scripts or script components that we can use as just components. Okay. Running backend, completing domain, etc. And then the project sort of refreshes there. So after it's done, you'll see a check mark here, meaning it's installed, and then the install button changes to remove. Okay. So first thing we'll do is we'll create an empty object here. We'll zero out everything, reset everything. And then we'll rename this to camera. Now this camera object will not do anything. This is just for organization here. So we can group all our camera stuff under this camera object. Now see main camera, I'll make it a child of our camera object here. Okay, next we'll click on our camera empty object here, container, and then we'll create a Cinemachine object. So Cinemachine over here. If it's installed, now you'll see it here. So we have a lot of things here. You could search on it, no? We won't discuss everything here. But the current one we will use is a virtual camera. This, okay, virtual camera. And then I'll rename this as running camera or walking camera, whatever. Walking camera siguro, no? Just walking camera. Okay, so this is a virtual camera. The virtual camera is sort of like, it's a camera, pero whatever the virtual camera is displaying, ang munang i-relay niya sa main camera. And then the main camera will display it. Later on, we'll have a lot, or two different virtual cameras, and then we'll sort of switch between those two. Okay, so for now, we'll work on the walking camera. Okay, so we have here walking camera, and then we also have a lot of things here. We have lens ortho size. So lens ortho size, if you remember, naka-orthographic projection siya, right? So if this is bigger, the zoom is bigger man, right? So if we are running, if our character is running, so maybe around 5, or no, not 65, around 5, or maybe around 6, right? If it's running 6 ang lens, like that, or ang zoom, that's pretty good. And then we also have a property here called follow. So this looks for a transform. And then our camera, or our virtual camera, walking camera here, will follow this transform, whatever you forward here. Now we want it to follow our player. So we'll just drag our player object here to follow, and then it will follow wherever our player goes. Okay? Okay, so when our player moves, it follows along. So, and if you notice, it's not like it's very rigid where if the player moves, it moves along with the player directly. No, it looks like it's chasing the player. We could actually modify that behavior. Here's body. So currently it is transposer. So transposer is sort of like just following our player here. We have properties here with Z na offset, or just following offsets. And then we have damping. Damping is sort of, if you have higher damping, then it follows slower. So I'll just demonstrate it here. So currently we have X damping at 1. If we have zero damping, then our camera follows agad-agad siya, no? It follows immediately. But if we have, say, so I'll exaggerate it a bit, 3 na damping, then it won't fall, or the speed at which the camera follows sa X direction is a bit slow. There. So it eases in, if you see, there. So, but for the body of our camera, we don't want this to be transposer. There is another thing here, which is framing transposer. So the difference with framing transposer and transposer, they're both chasing the target, and then it sort of like eases in, right, with the damping. But the framing transposer, you have more controls. You have a specific frame in which you can say that the camera doesn't follow, or in which we call that a dead zone. We still have the damping, and I'll leave this at 111 for now. Or maybe we could ease in a little longer, so we could say 2 ang atong damping here. But we have this thing called dead zone. So if you look at the game screen right now, it won't be that if we play it. Pero if you look at the game scene, right, we have this sort of crosshair, light blue lines, and then we have this dot, right? We have this dot at the center, which is, well, that's the center of our target that we are following. Okay, so if I click on play, right, I'll click off of our walking, or if I click our walking camera here, I'm not sure if you can view it. Yeah, it disappears, but the body, right? Okay. If we click on body here, so we can see it in action sa game view, right? In which the small yellow dot is being followed by this cursor, right? And then when it is centered, it stops moving like that. So that's the usual behavior of the transposer, right? But for the framing transposer, we can adjust the frame. So first thing here, we have the dead zone. The dead zone is sort of like an area in which our camera would not follow the player yet. So currently it's at 0. If I expand this, say 0.2, if you see the vertical lines, may dua ka vertical lines, right? So that's the dead zone. So if I move my character inside that dead zone, the camera doesn't chase. Okay? So that's the dead zone of the camera. We could do that for the dead zone height as well, 0.2. So it will only follow, the camera will only follow if we exceed that dead zone. Like that. Okay. So you could adjust the framing, no, of our character. I'm pretty happy with 0.2 na dead zone, but maybe damping, I'll move this back to 1. We also have, which one was it? Look ahead. Screen X and screen Y. Now this one, we could move our camera, no, in the X and Y na direction. So currently it's at 0.5, 0.5, but maybe I want it at 0.3 so that our camera is sort of like an angle or medyo offset siya to the side so that we can see more of our environment here when we're running, right? Okay. Like that. There. Yeah. So let's just take note of the numbers now. Damping is all 1 because this will disappear when I click off of game mode. Screen X is 0.3. Dead zone is 0.2, 0.2. Okay. So click off of game mode, and then I'll input those numbers here. So 1 X damping, screen X is 0.2, 0.3, right? I'll keep screen Y at 0.5. And then for dead zone, this is 0.2, 0.2. Okay. Okay, there. It follows or eases in, you know, and we can also observe the dead zone there. Okay. Yeah. Now, there's a bit of problem here. The camera covers this, which is the unpainted part, no, of our level. So there's no rendered thing there. Currently here, it's okay, right? But if we go above, like here, or maybe, okay, maybe it's here. There. So if you go above as well, makita taman ang blue outside na siya of the painted area, right? Okay, so we don't want that. We want to limit our camera in just the painted portions of our level. Okay, so I'll click on game mode for now, or I'll stop it. So we could do that with extensions. This is still Cinemachine. We could do it with code, maybe, right? But we'll take the easier route by plugins with Cinemachine. So we want to confine the movement of our 2D camera. So we could click on here, Cinemachine Confiner 2D. Okay, so Cinemachine Confiner 2D, it is asking for a bounding shape, right? And then here it says the 2D shape within which the camera is to be contained, which can be a 2D polygon or a 2D composite collider. So we can either use a composite collider. Honestly, I haven't used the composite collider, pero ang polygon is easier to create. So we could use a 2D collider or 2D polygon collider. Where do we attach it though? It doesn't really matter where we attach it, but for ease, no, we will attach it na lang sa background. Okay, so sa background here, we'll create a polygon collider 2D, and our polygon collider 2D, it looks like this. It's a very big pentagon, but we can still edit this, right? So we want a square. If you want a square, you could observe or explore this: points, paths, size, element 0. So currently size is 5, so 5 points. Or you can add along the way. But we want this to be a square, so I'll do 4 elements, and then we'll edit this here. So it's a little hard to see because again, green on green, but I'll put it here. You don't have to be too precise with this, but I'll put it there sa that corner, and then this one, I'll move its corner as well. Here. Okay. Maybe a little down there. And then the other one, put it here. Okay. And then lastly, there. Okay, we'll adjust it like that. Okay. Oh, go back to our background there. So may polygon collider na ta. Right? There. And then we go back to our walking camera, and then simply we just drag our background tile map to the bounding shape here. So there, my background tile map na siya. So our if you see earlier it was centered sa player and we see the blue areas. Pero once we dragged our background tile map here, nag-confine na si camera. Now if we click on play here, oops, sorry. Okay. We click on play here, there's a bit of a problem because our character is whisked away, but our camera stays here in the confines. It doesn't follow the player all the way to those unpainted areas of the map. So kind of good, kind of bad, but we'll just fix that. So if you see here sa background tile map, our collider here is an actual collider, but we don't have to change this, right? We don't want it to be a trigger. We just want it to stay as a collider. However, we can disable the collision between our player and our background. Now we can do that with code, I think, to ignore collision, but easier way without coding is to create layers. This is what we've done sa Unit 4 as well. If we want those fruits sa Unit 4 not to collide with each other. Very simple, we'll just create collision layers. So we'll add a layer here. So I'll name this background layer. It's under layers, no? Just a note again, no? This is collision layers. Ang layers lang, that's collision layers. And this one is sorting layers. Sorting layers is again for rendering. Okay? And then we'll go to our background tile map here. For the layer, we'll name it or we'll assign it with the background collision layer. And then edit sa project settings. And then under physics 2D, not physics, no. Physics, this one is for 3D, this one is 2D. Okay? And then, well, sometimes the layer collision is below here, but I think this one, naka-separate tab siya. So we don't want our background to collide with anything, right? So we'll just go to disable every collisions with our background. Okay, we don't want our background to collide with anything. Okay, so we'll close that and save, and then we'll test. So our background shouldn't collide with our player anymore, like this. So yeah, wala na siya ga-collide. Now our camera is also confined, no, sa background ta. So let's try climbing to that spot. If you don't want the speed at which the character is falling, you could adjust the gravity or the gravity scale. Actually, you could adjust the gravity scale per character later on. Sa rigid body, no? Sa rigid body 2D here, we have a mass and we have gravity scale. So maybe if you want gravity scale as 3, so this character lang would be affected by gravity, sort of like 3 times, right? And then you could edit the mass or you could edit the force. Yeah. you could customize it like that. We'll put this back to 1. And then, so earlier, if we go here, makita tang blue unpainted area, but now it is limited. Camera is limited. There. Actually, sige, let's edit the gravity scaling for this. So 3 gravity scale, and maybe add force here, or jump force. Maybe we put it at 30. Maybe. Oh, that's too much. 20. Too much still. Maybe 15. Let's put it at 10. Oh, maybe around 13. Yeah, that's pretty good. So get out of play mode. Let's implement those changes. Rigid body 3 there. Okay. The last thing we'll do is the idle na camera, right? So if it's idle, it zooms in. For that, we'll make use of a state-driven camera. Okay, so state-driven. We have 10 minutes. I think we can do that in 10 minutes. So camera, again, we'll create another CineMachine object. Now this time it's a state-driven camera. We'll just name it as state-driven camera. There's a bit of a problem here na big siya again, and then may blue area siya. That's because our state-driven camera has a child, another child na virtual camera. Now, we don't want this virtual camera, so we'll just delete this. And then we'll drag our walking camera, which is a virtual camera, as a child of our state-driven camera. Now we want 2 virtual cameras here. One is for the walking, which we already did that, and we need one for just the idle na animation. So we could create another virtual camera for that, but I think easier if we just duplicate our walking camera, and then we'll just rename this as idle camera. Para ang follow and everything is already assigned. So we want this as a child of our state-driven camera. Okay? And then we could edit the ortho lens. We want this to zoom in, right? So, sa player lang. There, something like that. So lens ortho size around 2.5 maybe, just to zoom in a bit, right? Our player, if it's not moving, okay? And then we won't change anything else, just the lens ortho size. Or maybe we could change the body. Maybe we want it centered, so no dead zone. Oh, no dead zone. And then screen position is 0.5. Para centered gid siya. 0.5. There. Centered siya. Okay. If we want to check which camera or which view is active currently, pwede ta select a camera and then click on solo. So currently here, this is the view for our idle camera. If you want to see the walking camera, you'll click walking camera and click on solo here if you want to check the different views, right? But for now, we'll do the idle camera, right? I think that's pretty good. Next thing we'll do is we'll go to our state-driven camera. Again, this needs children na virtual camera because that's what we will use sa states here. We also need an object that has an animation controller with multiple states. So currently, ang player we have the animation controller for our player has 2 states. One is idle and one is walking. So we'll use that animation controller as the state machine for our state-driven camera. So we'll drag player here to animated target here. So animated target. So it will select the animation controller. So we'll just use the base layer because we don't have any other layers there. And then we'll create states as well sa aton state-driven camera. Okay, so we'll add 2 here. So we'll create new state and another new state. So the first state here, we'll select which state in our animation controller. So for example, idle here, so night idle, and then the camera is which camera we will use for that state. So currently, we want our idle camera with the idle state, and then our walk state with our walking camera. Okay, so if we click on this, we're expecting that if our player transitions, ang state niya or ang animation niya mag-transition, ma-transition man ang camera. So currently, it's at the idle camera, but if I start moving, ma-transition siya to the walking camera, like so. But it's too fast. Whenever I'm like pressing something, then ma-zoom in, zoom out man siya, right? If you want to put a delay, you can manipulate the wait and min na variables here. So currently, so wait here is this state will wait the number of seconds indicated here until it transitions back to this state. So for example, we want to wait 3 seconds from walking camera back to our idle state. So if we do 3 here, so if we walk, instant siya, but if I release this, it waits for 3 seconds and then it goes back to the idle camera. Maybe we could put 0.5 min here of wait time from idle or from idle to walking. So it doesn't do that anymore. Wait lang. 0.5. Okay. There. So it waits 0.5 seconds. Maybe that's just a bit too long. 0.2 seconds. There. Yeah, that's much better. There. It waits 3 seconds, then zooms back in to the idle camera. And then here it waits a little bit, like 0.2, and then it goes to the walking camera. There. Yeah. So we were in play mode, so it won't. We have to re-enter it here. 0.2. There. Minimum. I forgot what this does. I think minimum wait time siya. I'm not so sure sa min na aspect here. But yeah, we could have wait times lang for the transitions. There. Okay. Yeah. So we'll stop here for now, and then next meeting we'll put obstacles, maybe walking slime mobs as well, and then what else do we put? Multiple scenes just for the scene manager. Okay, but for now we can stop here. Okay.